It's not your fault you haven't achieved your diet and exercise goals. Chances are you've been following bad advice. Well, enough is enough. It's time for you to listen to the experts and get real results. I'm Tom Holland, exercise physiologist and host of Fitness Disrupted, a groundbreaking podcast that debunks the top exercise and nutrition myths once and for all with science. Listen to Fitness Disrupted at Apple Podcasts, on the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Available now from iHeart, a new series presented by T-Mobile for Business, The Restless Ones. Join me, Jonathan Strickland, as I explore the coming technological revolution with the restless business leaders who stand right on the cutting edge. They know there is a better way to get things done, and they are ready, curious, excited for the next technological innovation to unlock their vision of the future. In each episode, we'll learn more from the restless ones themselves and dive deep into how the 5G revolution could enable their teams to thrive. The Restless Ones is now available on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Okay, so it's the late 80s, and the Reagan's new minimum drug sentencing laws are in place, and the nation is swept up in an anti-drug, just-say-no fever, thanks to First Lady Nancy Reagan. My pot smuggler dad has experienced his biggest smuggling success, followed by the biggest ripoff of his career so far. He's doing primarily smaller local deals and fruitlessly waiting for the Green Beret grifter to clean and return Dad's foolishly entrusted money. I'm headed towards high school and into the Eurythmics, the Indigo Girls, and comedy, watching a lot of old Saturday Night Live with Gilda, Belushi, and the Coneheads. At the same time, my mom's friend's family gets into a smuggling trip that goes terribly wrong. My parents had a good friend, younger than them, who were calling the kid. He was a carpenter and built my dad a custom case for his pot weighing scales, which my dad used to carry the scales in for local deals. Well, in 1988, the kid and his brother, Mr. High, get busted bringing in thousands of pounds of pot via Oregon's Columbia River. The kid calls my dad in a panic. His brother's been busted, headed to prison, and instead of joining his brother in prison, the kid's gonna flee the country with his wife and child. So the sister of these busted brothers lived across the street from the house I was born in. Remember that hippity-hoppity house with the secret room? So I've known the sister of the busted brothers my whole life. She's in the rock and roll industry, and I went to school with her kids. Like the rest of the family friends I've recently discovered were also smugglers, I had no idea that this former neighbor and mother of my school friends was also involved in pot smuggling, albeit peripherally. We'll call her Grandma Bella, because today, after years of working in San Francisco's rock and roll industry, her favorite job is being a grandma. As her grandchildren romped in the garden, I spoke to Grandma Bella about the abrupt and catastrophic finale to her brother's pot smuggling careers. In today's episode, we learn about the traumatic, real-life ramifications of the Reagan administration's drug laws as more smugglers in our family circle were sent to prison or fled the country. I'm Rainbow Valentine, and this is Disorganized Crime, Smuggler's Daughter.
Young, free, and groovy, making it up as we roll along. Rolling along, far out country roads. Feeling great in the Golden Gate, dodging the law up in New York State. Making it up as we roll along.
Hi, my name is Sebastian Maniscalco.
And I'm Pete Corielli.
And this is the Pete and Sebastian Podcast. This is a show where Pete and I talk about our personal, private lives. Just two guys. Jesus.
Hey, I'm comedian Pete Corielli. And
I'm comedian.
Shit.
Oh, go ahead. I met Pete 6 years ago on a bus in Toronto. Ah, it's terrible. iHeartRadio is #1 for podcasts.
Is that on purpose, man, that you go like, step right up, step right up? It doesn't say anywhere on there, doing the highest pitch voice you have as fast as you can.
There's other podcasts out there that you're probably listening to or watching. Listen, people, I'm telling you right now, this is comedy gold, all right?
We're taking the show to another level. Listen to the Pete and Sebastian Show on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
When your car breaks down, do you take it to a trained mechanic with years of experience, or do you take it to a celebrity? Then why are you doing the same thing with your health? I'm Tom Holland, and I have a brand new podcast called Fitness Disrupted, a groundbreaking show that debunks the most common exercise and nutrition myths once and for all with science. I'm an exercise physiologist with a master's degree in exercise science and sports psychology, and I have over 30 years experience in the fitness industry. I'm an elite endurance athlete, having completed 26 Ironman triathlons and over 70 marathons and ultramarathons around the world. You will hear interviews with the best in the business, the top doctors, nutritionists, professional athletes, and more. And in each episode of Fitness Disrupted, I will give you actionable advice that you can begin to use right away. No more wasted time and money following bad advice. Listen to Fitness Disrupted at Apple Podcasts, on the iHeartRadio app, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Part of this podcast is the history and the laws changing and what happened. So it's the 80s.
The law had just changed a few months earlier.
I'm with my mom, talking to Grandma Bella. Grandma Bella is my mom's friend whose 2 brothers were busted smuggling Afghani pot into Oregon via the Columbia River.
They had it all set up. It was a boat on the Columbia River, and that was when paranoid sister said, "Are you sure you should be doing this with the new drug law changes?" And I'm like, oh, it only applies to coke. So all these guys who'd been dealing in pot for all these years thought that it was nothing, and that only the crack people and so forth were going to be getting in trouble.
A drug bust is the seizure of illegal drugs by law enforcement. And after this bust, Grandma Bella's role is to get her mom out of Portland and bring her back to Mill Valley. Her mom was staying in a rental apartment used as a safe house for the trip, which means the apartment was filled with all sorts of evidence of the trip, including paraphernalia, receipts, and so much more. And whoever rents the safe house could also go to prison for 5 to 10 years. The last thing Grandma Bella wants is for her senior citizen mom to join the rest of the family in prison.
They moved my mother to Portland and used her house, her apartment, as a meeting place. So my mother's apartment is full of all this name of the boat stuff and just you name it. So my mom is kind of clueless. She thinks it's cool because she smokes pot and she doesn't think anything of it. And she thinks that it's a wild ride. And by the time I see her again, she's talking like a pot dealer.
Grandma Bella's mom is defiantly resisting moving back down to Mill Valley. She has no idea that she's in jeopardy of being busted as well, and she's being totally uncooperative.
Against her will, we're packing her up, and I'm determined that we're going to get every single thing out. So I'm going through books. Sure enough, there'd be a plane ticket, all this kind of stuff, and she's mad at me meanwhile. And so I made my sister and my sister-in-law stay up all night. I'm like, no, you're not going to bed. Nobody's going to bed till this house is clean. And I mean clean. I just was petrified for my mother. So we get it all done. We've got everything ready. The guy with the truck from Mill Valley has arrived, ready to take her stuff. And by that time, I've sort of got her convinced, you've got to leave, Mom. She goes, oh, wait a minute, there is one more space that we forgot to get to. And right outside her apartment is a storage area. So we go outside to the storage area, and none of us are tall enough to get the stuff. So this guy from upstairs, her friend, comes down, and down falls this big thing of rifles.
Yep, rifles. And possessing these rifles could add 9 years to the sentence of anyone who had just gotten busted, which could be almost 20 years in prison.
And they all have the name of the boat on them.
This is horrible.
Yeah, You think it's funny? Yay! This is what I'm talking about. So they're antique guns.
Oh.
And the reason that they're not on the boat is because they got rid of them, but they didn't want to get rid of them because they had value. First thing is, I said, "You got to get rid of these, Mom." She goes, "Well, you got to do it." I go, "I'm not going to do it. Why the hell should I have to do it? I didn't make this mess." And the guy who's supposed to be driving her stuff back goes, "I'll take them." Like, you idiot, you can't take them. They're part of a crime thing. You want to go to jail? He's like, "Well, they're really good. What are you going to do with them?" Like, I don't know. But my mom is going to get rid of them. You're going to drive her, and she's going to she knows the area. I don't. So they finally come back a few hours later, and I go, "Great, where'd you put them?" She goes, "Well, we just couldn't find any place satisfactory, so we put them in somebody's backyard under a log."
Under a log?
This is what hippies did.
Yeah. And I said, "Mother, what if these people have children? What if those guns are loaded? Did you check them?" "No, I didn't want to touch them." Like, "Mom, what if somebody gets killed as a result of this? You can't leave them there. Are you kidding? All right, let's go."
So Grandma Bella and her mom rent a car to retrieve the guns from under the log. But unfortunately, her mom forgets where the log is. I mean, Portland is an especially log-abundant city.
Numerous times I said, "Mom, I see over there that there's another thoroughfare, another avenue. Are you sure you weren't on that avenue?" "What do you think? I'm an idiot? Of course I wasn't. I'd tell you if I were. They're on this avenue." So finally, after we don't find them for hours, I go over to the other avenue and we find them right off the bat. So now I'm really ready to kill her.
The next task is to figure out where to put the guns. And Grandma Bella decides to bury them in a hole in some back road in rural Oregon, lush with forests and blackberry brambles.
We found plenty of deep holes, but the problem is every time we'd pull over to drop them, another car would go by, who would then have seen our car and be
and you holding rifles.
Yeah, how can it be so difficult? Hey, in the movies, it always looks like, "Oh, we're just going to throw this body overboard and everything's fine." And I just, so we get all the way back to Portland where we'd started from, and we still have the damned bag of guns in the trunk of the car. So we end up
So you're back in Portland?
finding, yes, an industrial area that is nothing but industrial, and throwing them in a
You mean a debris box?
dumpster.
Oh, a dumpster.
A dumpster.
Stressed, exhausted, and cranky, Grandma Bella and her mom fight all the way back to a motel, where they meet with the rest of the family to determine their next move. Now, the bust happened the day before Grandma Bella is cleaning out her mom's apartment. She explained to us what happened.
The ship, previously used for research, but converted, and they were to meet out in the middle of the ocean somewhere and exchange money for hash. And I'm nervous, but I think, well, they're also smart, and they hired this guy was a professor of drama at some university to be the captain of the ship, and he's a smart guy. They're all hippies.
I just need to echo Grandma Bella. These smugglers hired a hippie drama teacher to be the ship captain. Absurd.
The way they got arrested was there was too much of the product, which means when the boat came back to shore, they had to spend 3 days making extra containers. And my brother, who got caught, had to rent a truck, an extra flatbed truck. He put it in his own name, in his own credit card. He was terrible as a smuggler, I'm telling you.
Now, this is absolutely taboo in smuggling. Never use your real name.
He knew that they were following him when he pulled out. And the way they had gotten caught was the DA and some customs officials and somebody else were coming into port. They saw the boat, and the custom guy goes, "I bet you that's a smuggler's boat." And the other one said, "Nah, it's just a research ship." So they took a little bet, and they watched it. And my brother said, they were following him. He didn't know what to do. This is Mr. High. He had millions of dollars worth of stuff in the back of the truck that he felt he was responsible for, because he said if it weren't for that, I would have driven the truck into the bay, into the ocean, and taken my chances. He pulled over